This is my presentation for adoption and implementation of the Child Care Development Block Grant Policy Alternatives. My name is Clara Bartel. Let's just get into it. The CCDBG is a federal program that works with states to fund child care for low-income families. And right now, there's a lot of debate on whether to go forward with it since the status quo is essentially flat from last year, what they call the child care cliff from the COVID era subsidies. And it is at $8.5 billion funding. Right now, states implement a 7% copay cap on the total income for low-income families. The alternative is alternative one is an incremental funding boost of 1 to 2 billion. This is the easiest because it would just be a an increase from the status quo, and they wouldn't need to reform the system. The number two is a targeted contracting set aside where states reserve a small amount of the CCDBG funds and give providers multiple contracts, long-term contracts for those that need it the most in rural communities and like toddlers and infants. This would help supply the supply issue. There's a huge supply issue. The alternative three is a copay elimination match for lowest income families. So this would be like a 0% match on the copay. So like how much you have to pay to get a slot in a daycare center or something. And so that would be the federal government uh, putting investments into the state, matching state investments. And then alternative four is the regulatory flexible pilot or demonstration. And this would be for those with regulatory concerns. It could be a very small pilot where a limited number of states could adjust their staffing ratios and kind of see what they can do in regulations and then implement them. And this would have to be overseen, but it could inform the current situation. Okay, so like I said, alternative one is the most adoptable because it's kind of where we're at already. It's just increasing the funding incrementally that can attach to appropriations and make a decision-making fit. Number two is feasible, but it raises parental choice concerns since the contracts would go to specific providers instead of all. So you would have to go to one daycare if you're low income, and that could have potential issues. Alternative three and four are a little bit more controversial. Three in that it is the copay match, and it would be essentially like free healthcare or no, free childcare with the 0% copay. So they wouldn't have to pay if they were low income. For certain states that would match that incentive. And so you would have to have incentives for the states that would do it. Some might not do it, and so that would also be a concern. And then four is because of the regulatory concerns, or taking away regulations, more like, and that can harm and outcomes, but is yet to be seen. Um, and that's why having a small pilot would be beneficial. Okay, so the institutions that they that are key decision makers in Congress is the Senate Help Committee, the House Education and Workforce Committee, and the Labor and HHS Appropriations Committee. This is where the funding comes from and the decisions are made. Right now, the decision-making style is mostly like incremental or even like bargaining based. We won't see sweeping child care reforms in Congress, and so it's just incrementally changing. Uh, coalitions matter, and there are child advocates and businesses that advocate for childcare um, programs, and their their and monitor compliance. Evidence from the GAO, HHS, and research supports incremental changes. Um, Again, child care helps uh, families go into the workforce. I guess I didn't say again. I don't know. I say it again, but yeah. So childcare helps women specifically get back into the workforce, and it can help the economy. Um, and yeah. So federal role, the OCC sets rules, monitors compliance. That's the Office of Child Care, um, and implements changes via regulations, guidance, templates. Um, so oversees funding and contracting, co-pay matches, and pilots. It's all federal. State and local role. Well, the states do a lot of the heavy lifting here. The states set eligibility, co-pays, and payment rates, decide between whether to do a voucher program or contracting, coordinate with licensing, and local providers implement policies on the ground. Uh, so supporters, low income and moderate income families, child care providers, and early educators, advocacy groups such as Child Care Aware of America, the NAEYC, and then the National Women's Law Center all support the reforms in childcare space, as well as businesses. Opposition, so fiscal conservatives worry about spending, limited government think tanks such as the Heritage Foundation and Cato. And their concern is about uh, the deficit and also like choice, um, regulation on small providers, or at least taking away regulations. Um, and then yeah, they need flexibility pilots and clear metrics.